Hello everyone. So, I promised a video today and it's 11:18 at night, but I'm putting up the video. Well, it's been a crazy last 24 hours. As a lot of you have seen on Facebook and all the excitement there, I got a pretty interesting phone call yesterday. Um, I was just going about my regular day out here, um, meeting the contractor at the flip house that we're doing here in Pittsburgh, planning on what we're going to do in the kitchen and how we're going to put the half bathroom in the first floor, cutting holes in the basement concrete to run plumbing and all that kind of stuff, and then planning where the drain's going to go and measuring for kitchen cabinets and planning that. Then I went to the water department and had the water turned on and got that all set. And then I went to the cabinet shop. And Dad's with me, by the way, because he drove me out here on Friday and we got reactivated for transplant once we got back into Pennsylvania. So we were reactivated on Friday. So anyway, so we got at the cabinet shop for a couple hours looking at cabinets and planning cabinets and granite countertops for the flip house. And then we went out and we're like, okay, it's 6 o'clock. We have not eaten since breakfast at like 11, brunch or whatever. It's time to go get some food. So we get in the car outside the cabinet shop and I get a phone call. And it's Larry. He says, hey, Jake, this is Larry, transplant coordinator. And I says, hey, Larry. He says, hey, how you doing? I says, good. He says, are you sick or anything, or how you feeling? I said, I'm good. He says, you haven't been sick this last week or out of the normal or anything? And I said, no. He says, okay. He said, well, I was calling to inform you that we have a transplant donor and a match for you for your lungs available to you. And I'd had no idea what even to think. He says it's considered it's got a slight risk. I don't remember the technical term they call these, but many times it's either because they don't know full medical history of the person. Maybe there's don't have family that can explain their life history or medical history, or there's stuff missing in their medical charts. So, but he said there's a pair of lungs available. And are you interested? So, I tell you guys, I spent 4.5 months out here, going on 4.5, and you just kind of live your life and just keep going, and you don't really think about that call. But then all of a sudden it comes, and of course you're in the middle of life. I'm thinking, wait a second, I gotta pay the contractor today. I gotta order these cabinets once the contractor says he likes the idea, and then I got this flip house, and we got another one we're looking at closing on maybe this week. Oh, really? Now? Now? And then there's that other part that's going, Jake, that's why you're out here. And he says, what do you think? And I'm like, what do you know about him? He says, that's all we know. He says, and you'll probably find out more when you get here, and as they get to look at the donor lungs and do all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of variables, he says, but there's an opportunity here. Do you want it? And I kind of froze. I'm like, everything, rushes through your head, and you start thinking, and you mean like I wouldn't need oxygen anymore? Like this spit bottle that I carry around with me everywhere, the hours of breathing treatments that I do, all the antibiotics that I go through. You mean that could all end like maybe today? Yeah. He says, how far when could you be to the hospital? And I'm like, I think I'm like literally like 15 minutes away. He's like, really? I says, yeah. I says, I'm up on the north side of town. We just got done looking at cabinets for the flip house, and we were gonna go eat because we're really hungry. We haven't eaten in 6, 7 hours. He says, well, if you come in, you can't eat, man. I said, yeah, I get it. Um, yeah, let's do it. And he says, okay. He said, you're probably going to beat us to the hospital. Show up at the ER because it's 6 o'clock. It's past business hours. Pull into the ER and I'll get you going. So I GPSed it and it was like 11 minutes. It was literally a couple blocks away. So I went in, a lot of prep, a lot of, checking in and access for blood work. And they took 10 tubes and then, in the ER. And then they had to get me up to like a waiting room up on the 10th floor. And that took 4.5 hours to get me up there. And they're like, no, we got to get you prepped for like the surgery room. Like they're ready for you down there now. And then they took another like 10 tubes of blood and then they're getting all that and they're like, okay, when do you want us to bring them down? Okay, we'll order transport and they'll start, coming to get you and bring you down. And I'm like, that takes like 30 minutes, man. Transport around here takes forever. I'll walk down there. They're like, that's not really how we do it. I says, well, darn it, I could walk. They're like, yeah, but we got to do like the whole official thing, like, stretcher and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But, and by this time it's 11 o'clock, 11:30. I've been at the hospital for 5 hours, a little more. I felt bad for Dad because he's hungry but doesn't want to leave. Because he doesn't want to like walk away and not know where his room is or where I am. But at about 11:30, the physician came into the room and he said, Jake, he says, we were removing the lungs from the donor in Ohio, so I got to find that out. And he says we found that one of the lungs had pneumonia in it, and it was not viable for transplant. So we had to decline these lungs in your best interest. And he was really sad, and he actually took his phone out and he sent me a picture because if you guys, I don't know if I've explained this process, but when there's a donor in a hospital, once the family has accepted donation of their loved one, then that hospital sends out an alert to all hospitals within 250 miles of all organs that are available for transplant. It could be kidneys, lungs, heart, eyes, liver, all of them. Then they acquire all of the recipients. All of those recipients' doctors hop on a jet and fly to that donor hospital. That person is still left on life support this whole time. Once all of the receiving doctors are in the room, in the surgical room, then they finally pull the plug and wait. Once the person is pronounced, then it becomes go time. The person is opened up, and all of the individual doctors for each individual part take out their own part. So my doctors are there to remove the lungs. they immediately assess the lungs and look at them and say, okay, good, bad, this, that. This is where they found in the assessment that the one lung had, instead of being really nice and pink and very light and fluffy, it had this area that was gray and dark and some white and very dense, very heavy, bulky, he said, which told them that there's pneumonia in that lung. Showed me the picture, and it was very obvious in the picture. So they declined, and he said, Jake, I'm really sorry, and he was really down, and you know what? I mean, God is so good, and God only wants what's best for his children. And it was my first dry run, as they call it. I wasn't even put under or anything like that. I was still wide awake and all that kind of stuff. And I could tell the doctor was really disappointed too. And I said, hey, it's okay, man. I says, God has big plans, I said. And I said, I still pray for that family. So, yeah, I said, good, now we can eat. And then go home. So they were able to bring some water finally and pudding, which was enough to hold us over. But 2 hours later, I finally walked out and we came back to the house and got to bed about 3 a.m. But guys, everybody's asked, how are you? What a major disappointment. And, God is so big and so good. And you know what? I'm cool with it. Actually, I got a lot of stuff going on anyway, so I got enough to keep me occupied. But yeah, I still pray for the donor family, and as you guys can too, it's still hard. I hope and I pray that maybe somebody got one lung, and somebody was blessed with one if the other one was good. So, but I need two, and these weren't the two for me. So here we are, plugging away again, back at the house, playing the hurry up and wait game. So, man, you guys, I'll tell you, to see how I knew Facebook would be the fastest way to tell people, and when they're rushing you through and trying to do all that, you're trying to think, how do I tell everybody at once? And there's a lot of you guys that I love, and I wish I had time to call personally and all that, but there's so much to think about because, I mean, it's a huge thing. So, but I know a lot of you guys are following. I tried to make it public for the first post so that you guys could share it. And I was blown away by the spread and how far it went, you guys. It's amazing. The telephone game got a little funny because some people thought I was only listed for less than a week and instead of the last 4.5 months, and other people thought I got the lungs already, and things like that. But that's kind of fun of that telephone game. But all the prayer support and everybody out there, it's just been amazing. Thank you guys for the ones who hopped on the fundraiser too to help, because that is going to be a big deal when this does actually happen. There'll be a lot of financial stuff then, but God is good and God provides. So anyway, so that's my update video, life update. Yep, flipping a house in Pittsburgh. I know I'm crazy, but can't stop working. I love real estate, and market's great out here. So having some fun, planning a remodel and a flip, and we're hoping to close on another one this week or next week. And do 2 before winter. So, Lord willing. But yeah, if you could pray for that too, that's going to help me pay the bills back home, the mortgage, and things at the house, and then just kind of some of the living expenses here too, outside of just fundraiser help. So that's what we're trying to do. So love you guys, and hopefully this gives you some perspective. And my other CF friends out there, this is the reality of it. But the reality of it is God is still good. He is always good. And if you're his child, he only wants what's best for you. And this wasn't the best. So this may have been pretty good, but it's not the best. So love you guys. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Keep praying for me. I'll take it. I'll take everyone I can get. And I look forward to seeing you guys without this kind of stuff.